I believe that the advocate role is very important from the point of view that it provides me with a marvellous opportunity of going around the country to listen to people. And I think advocacy is in the end about listening and drilling right down to local people. That's what I enjoy most, because it's about their concerns and their desires and their wishes. And trying to work out and to capture the main messages that are coming out of rural England at the moment. And then not only capturing those ideas, but also trying to make sure that you're being creative and positive at the same time. On the one hand, of course, it's important to meet the professional people. They're doing some very, very good work on behalf of other people. It's important, for example, that I meet, to coin the phrase, the great and the good. That's, obviously very important. But I think the key is actually finding the opportunity of drilling right down to local communities. So meetings in village halls, meeting with farmers, for example, around kitchen tables. Getting out there and getting into the pubs and just listening to people's conversations, because that's the heart of what I believe I'm about. Going out there and meeting ordinary people, listening to them and making sure that I capture some of those important messages that they're coming out. Some of the major issues that are facing us in rural areas around education, for example, the provision of village schools. How are we going to square the circle, if you like, of falling numbers on the one hand, because obviously if you get falling numbers you have lack of money going into schools and education, and yet also trying to find a way and a creative way forward of how to have educational provision. So that's one issue. Another issue is around transport. Rural transport, I think, has risen up the agenda so much in the last year or so in rural areas. Because it's around sustainability of village communities, it's about access, of helping people, especially the disadvantaged, which I'm particularly concerned for and with, to actually have some expression of being able to go to places, do their shopping, for example, go to the post office, go into the market towns. So I think that education and transport are some of the major issues. I think also health provision is actually rising up the agenda too. And when I was out in Norfolk, for example, recently, and meeting some young doctors who I think are really pushing out the boat in terms of medical provision in rural areas through new technology. And then fundamentally, I think there's a question mark about affordable housing, of which I have a passion about, because I think that in the end, if you do not have affordable rural housing, then that is going to undermine what sustainability is all about. And I think affordable housing, if we could only crack that huge issue, then I think that would underpin what we mean by sustainability in the future. And also give some purpose into helping key workers in rural areas to be able to stay in those rural areas, which I think is very important. I hope there are thousands and thousands of people who are also rural advocates. And I think that's very important to make. Okay, I may be the focus, but there are lots of people there who are trying to make rural places much better than they are at the moment. So I think we do it together. How can we make a difference? Well, I think that on a number of different levels. Obviously, on the one hand, that annually I make a report to the Prime Minister, and that's a formal written report, although there's an opportunity to speak to him on a one-to-one basis, trying to identify those major issues and concerns that I've captured, if you like, through my rural advocates visits. I actually believe that's very, very important. I would also want to say that the informal meetings with the Prime Minister, taking the opportunity wherever he may be to be alongside him from time to time and just, if you like, whispering in his ear some of the issues that are around. Those opportunities are very important too. I can only do my work if I'm backed up by some very good people. And the Commission for Rural Communities employs, in my estimation, some very good people, very hard-working, very committed, and so we feed off each other. And there's a very real sense in which, as I go around the country, I'm not operating in isolation, but rather working together. Now, in terms of government, it means to say that we must make every opportunity in making our voice heard within government at all levels, from the Prime Minister through the different Secretaries of State, through the different departments. And a lot of that is really dependent in the end about working up some very good relationships with people. It's an amazingly privileged position, and I could only do it because I enjoy people. I think, you know, people are very, very important, and people make communities in the end, and that's what it's about. And the more relationship I have with people, the more energized I become, the more delighted I am.